If you're someone who's often faced with the question like, why do I suffer? What is the root cause of the suffering in my life? Or what should be my response when I go through suffering? Stay on with me today as we talk about a Bible character who went through suffering that we cannot even think of and yet did not blame God. In our Bible Banter, welcome back. It's been a long time that we haven't communicated, and I'm really excited to speak with you today through this medium. Well, last time when we had a Bible Banter, I was out there and I was planning to be out there, but somehow I realized the weather, the climatic conditions doesn't allow me to be always out there. So I'm recording this in the church building today. But last video that was published back in November, I was out there and sun was shining bright on my face, and I had asked you to guess the place, and that place was a Millennium Maze, which is near Hanwell Zoo. And well, that's not the question that I'm going to ask you today because I'm in the church building. Well, as I said in my introduction, we are going to talk about a Bible character who faced a lot of suffering in his life. And yet, he did not ever ask or blamed God for all the suffering that he was going through. Today we are going to talk about a character of Job. Now, book of Job is a beginning of another section in the Bible which is generally termed as a wisdom section. So it's not a regular story as such, but then it is a book which is considered as a wisdom book which has a poetry form in it. But it has a beautiful and interesting story, and a story that answers or helps us understand a view to look at the sufferings in our life. Now, when we open this book of Job, we see that book really doesn't spend a lot of time on all of the minute details, but straight away the limelight is given on the character of Job. And the Bible there talks about Job being a righteous man, Job being a man who feared God, Job being a man who walked in the ways of the Lord. You know, the Bible talks about him in Job chapter 1, verse 1, that saying that in the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. And it doesn't just stop there. You know, it goes on to say, this man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. And that's the introduction that brings us to this character of Job. And then this passage goes on to describe about how and what Job did to make sure that his family should always be in the right side of the Lord, forgiving their sins and worshipping the Lord. So Bible goes on describing about Job, describing about the wealth that he had, describing about his family, and it ends that section with a very important piece of information where it says, every morning he sacrificed a burnt offering, not just for himself, but also for his family, so that even if by mistake, by not knowing, unknowingly, if they have done something wrong, their sins would be forgiven. And that's the Job for us. A man who was blameless, man who was righteous, man who was always wanted to do what is needed to be done. From this first part of a Job, we move on to the second part, where the focus is not on a Job, but it is in heaven and a courtyard of the Lord. If you talk about a kingdom or a court scenario, then we see Lord is sitting in his court, and Satan comes to his presence. There Satan discusses about Job. He talks about a righteous man, and then their conversation drives to Job. And the Lord says, see, look at that man. He is such an upright man. He is such a good man. He is worshipping me. He fears me. He walks in my ways. And Satan asked God one question. And he said, see, what if he's taken away from, all these things are taken away from him? And the Lord said, I know he would still worship me. So God and Satan had a discussion. So Satan went and took away all things that belonged to Job, including his wealth, including his animals, and not just his animals, but also his sons and his daughters. And Satan thought that if all these things go away, he would come to the place where he would start blaming God, abusing God, and being very angry on God. But instead of that, Job did not go to that place and still continued to worship God. So Satan again went back to the Lord in heaven, and they again looked back at Job and they said, see, he is still upright. He is still doing what is needed, what he should be doing. So Satan said, see, we have taken away everything that he had, but he's still in a good health. So just if you can allow me to take away that good health from him, he would certainly blame you and certainly be angry on you. So God said to him, fine, I give you permission to go and take away his good health or inflict sickness over him, but you cannot take his life from him. So Satan goes back and he inflicts him with a lot of sores. And it says in the Bible that he had sores from head to his feet. And then we see that he, because of his sores and all that stuff, he took a piece of pottery, rubbing it on his skin, sat in the ashes, and just trying to get rid of the pain and all the things. Dear friends, in this scenario, when he has lost everything, when he has nothing in his life to be happy about, we see that his wife comes to him and she poses him a very important question, which we all might agree with. And she goes on to say, how long are you going to hold on to the Lord? He has taken everything from him. He has taken everything from you. Now it's time for you to really look and ask God, why has he done what he has done? But then there is something important again that Job does there. He counter asks his wife a question, saying, should we always take good things from the Lord? And that is the beginning of the book of Job. And then we see that in his sorrow, in his sickness, he is visited by his three friends. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of his friends. I just want you to go as a part of trivia that we would be having, to go and see the name of his friends. So his friends come there and sit with him as he is sad, as he is mourning about the loss, as he is suffering with his sickness. A man who's lost everything. His friends sit there with him and talk with him. And they try to kind of help him understand the situation of why he is suffering. Isn't that the question that we ask? Why do I suffer? And that those friends always try, those friends being there, sitting with him, try to come up with a very, very rational answer, saying that, see, you are suffering because naturally you have done something wrong in your life. But Job, who knew that I have made sure to do everything right, was sure that there is nothing wrong that I have done. So if I'm going through this, it is not because of my sin. Now, this dialogues with his friends takes the major portion of the book. And then there are 3 rounds of discussion with his friends where friends are trying to continuously helping or trying to continuously tell him that you have done something wrong and that's the reason this is what is happening in your life. And Job on the other end telling them, see, it's not about because of my sins, but then there's certainly something else why I'm going through this. And they don't reach to a proper conclusion there. And then we see an entry of a young man there who was listening to all this conversation with his friend. Now this young man drops in and he makes a very, very important point. He says, see, I completely agree. You're not suffering because of your sins. It's not because God has a long list of wrong things that you have done, and because of all those long list of all those sins, you're suffering. He says, no, that's not the case scenario with you. But then there is one thing, Job, that I believe you're suffering, and that is because of the pride that you have developed in being righteous, in doing things that are right for the Lord. And he said that is one of the factors why you're suffering. And with this view, the book move on moves on, and in the last section of the book, we see the arrival of God in this scenario. Job is still suffering. Job is still struggling with the question, why am I suffering? My dear friends, we all struggle with this question. We all struggle. We all ask these questions again and again. Why do I suffer? Why is there so many things that I have to go through in my life? Why can't my life be just happy and lucky to go, very happy, doing things the way I want to do it, and still I won't have any problems, sufferings, troubles, and nothing else? Dear friends, when God comes to Job, he does not run to answer all these questions. And maybe God will never run towards asking us, answering these questions that we have in the life, or as if, why do I suffer? But what God does instead of that is he shows Job the things in the creation. And he asks a Job question. Do you understand how these things work? Do you know how the world works? Now, Job finds himself in a situation where he doesn't have any answer for this. And God tells him a very important thing, and I think that's the truth that we should live upon. God said, see, I make everything work. The whole universe that you see, the whole creation that you see, that is in my control. And things work, and I make them work. So the question of why are you suffering is not that important. What is important is that you trust me in who I am. And Job realizes this, that the way I trusted God, I need to continue to do it. My dear friends, as we live our life, facing struggles, facing troubles, facing situations in our life which we did not anticipate, finding ourselves in a place where we thought, why am I even here? My dear friends, at times we find ourselves blaming God. At times we find ourselves questioning God. At times we get so angry with the God that we don't want to even spend time with Him. My dear friends, I would like to encourage you today from this character of Job. Yes, sufferings will always be a part of our life. My dear friends, if you're still struggling with this question, I would like to request you to stop focusing that question and start focusing on God. Allowing God to take control of our situations. Allowing God to lead us through the situations that we are going through. Allowing God to give us His peace and His strength as He is our shepherd who leads us. May God bless you all. Trivia time. The last time when we made a video, I asked two questions. How many kings are anointed by Samuel? And the answer is 2 kings. First was King Saul and second was King David. Both of them were anointed by Samuel. They were the first king and the second king. The second question was how many judges led people of Israel, and there are total 12 judges who led people of Israel. Now, the period of judges begins after book of Joshua and ends just before Saul was anointed as a king. So that's the period where we find judges, and there are 12 judges who led people of Israel. If you're interested to know more about these judges, right now Sunday Club videos are focused on judges. So it would be a good thing for those who are interested to know more about judges to see Sunday Club videos and see how God used them in the history of Israel. Now, that sounds bad, history. So in the history of Israel. Well, before we close, two more questions that I would like to give to you for this week, and I will try to answer them next time when we meet. The first question is, what are the names of three friends of Job? They're in the Bible, open them. Please let me know the answers. Second is a bit more difficult, might need a bit more study, but then what is burnt offering? And where the practice of burnt offering began. So it is mentioned in the Bible, and what it means, it's mentioned in the Bible. So please take time to understand, and we will talk certainly more about this when we meet next. If you find our videos interesting, and if you have been blessed by the videos that we produce through GBC site, please do let us know. We will find a link in the description. Just click on the link, leave your comments in the comment sections below. Maybe like this video, share this video, and let us know how are we being a blessing in your lives. We would really love to hear from you so that we can work harder in being blessing to you through these videos and for many others. Have a lovely week.